Greetings! In today's video, I'll be taking a look at this palette from Magicfly. It came from Amazon, as the brand seems to have many storefronts on various Amazon locales, as well as a main website. The palette is boxed, meaning that it comes in a box. The box itself has no photo of the palette or a list of the colors, but it has a really beautiful promo painting. The set comes with 48 colors, 2 water brushes in different tip shapes, a mixing palette, and 2 sponges. I took the palette out of the box and recognized the model. I think I have one just like it, but empty. It's made of white plastic and has the Magicfly logo on the lid. Right out of the box, I saw that the palette wouldn't close. That puzzled me, but was easy to figure out once I opened the lid. Inside, we get the mixing palette that is propped up with thin sponges. By removing those, I was able to clip the palette closed. We also get a very handy color chart printed on thin cardboard. The paints are already in the palette and aren't wrapped individually, so they placed a sheet of glass-in-type paper to protect them from the other parts in the box. With a set of 48 colors, it can be quite nice to have them unwrapped, because otherwise it takes a lot of time to unwrap every single color. I keep a bottle of tap water on my drawing table, so I filled up the water brushes to test them out. One came with a large round point, while the other has a nice flat tip. They were pretty straightforward to fill, and I could use them right away. I did a few quick swatches of random colors to get a first impression. Also, I don't usually use water brushes, so this was a good way to test them out. As far as I know, I thought they seemed very nice. The flow of water seems quite smooth, and they don't juice out, if I can say that, like some other brushes of this type that I've used. I also wanted to quickly show how this palette is set up. It's split into cartridges, each holding 6 half pans. You can take out the cartridges and move them around. If one had spare cartridges, they could also rotate them out. The bottom of the palette is not one large space, but a series of boxes for the cartridges. I would definitely advise not doing what I did, which is to mess with that when the paints are wet. It was difficult to maneuver without getting paint all over my fingers. The swatch sheet I prepared for this set was measured to be included along in the box. I just put down the mixing palette on a piece of paper and traced it out. Then I split it in 2 sections to match the way the palette is set up. Since the colors don't come with pigment information, I don't really need to write anything on the swatches. I also have the printout that was included as a reference for the names. Since this palette is all plastic, I sprayed the paints with some water before painting the swatches. I don't usually do that since I don't like spraying water over metal sets because they can rust. Most of the paints were easy to re-wet and super vibrant. A few required a bit more work to pick up some color, and those were also the weaker colors. The most notably weaker are the bright pink and the lavender color. They ended up being very soft. I love the range of colors. There are some really nice greens in the set, and the indigo color is particularly lovely. I think the range of colors is fairly balanced. The only color that surprised me a bit is the Payne's Gray, as it looks completely black with no trace of blue in it. In general, the set is a bit light in oranges and purples, but those are easy to mix from the large selection of yellows, reds, and blues. To see the paints in action, I set up this little drawing of a fox. It was one I had from a previous live stream session. By the way, I live stream every Saturday on a separate channel. The link will be in the description if you're curious. For this painting, I used a regular brush and a water bucket. The mixing palette was set in the holes on the palette space. As I started working with the colors, I saw that the mixing palette has a really nice surface that doesn't make the paint bead or pull together. That's really helpful to see the color I get as I mix. The colors mixed really well together and went down on the paper super smoothly. They are nice and vibrant for the most part. The orange I used and the indigo were exactly what I wanted. I used some of the weaker lavender color for a lighter touch, and it worked really well for that. I'm using cotton paper and good brushes, and they really help in making this paint work as best as possible. The blend of the colors for the background went in super smoothly. Nothing weird happened as I blended the colors on the paper. They don't spread out very far, but enough to blend together nicely. I ended up doing a second pass over the painting when it was dry, adding a few details here and there. I love how the colors in the background created a very faint texture, which makes it feel even more like vegetation. One of those happy accidents. The paints layered well, but I didn't do it extensively. For the way I paint, they did a really nice job. They dried well and didn't drastically change color in the process. Also, it was really easy to reactivate the paint that was on the mixing palette, and I was able to reuse that to mix more colors. The palette itself is nice. I love the mixing area and how we can customize where to attach it. It's a rather big palette, all things considered, but it packs a lot. With the water brushes, you don't really need anything else along. You can use the sponges to rinse out your brush, and you have everything you need in there. Since I don't have the pigment information for these, I'd put this palette in the student or craft category, as there's no way of knowing if a painting on a wall will lose its color over time. I mean, you could paint swatches and do the light fastness test yourself, but just from what information we are given about this set, it's really hard to tell. It would also be well suited to sketchbook practice work. As a starting palette, it definitely has potential for upgrades. When a pan empties, you can pour in watercolor paint from a tube and progressively update the palette this way. So, what do I make of this set? To me, this looks like a great gift for a young artist or a crafting friend. The paints are nice, not chalky like other brands I've seen. The range of color covers everything one would need at the start, and more. As the set comes with 2 water brushes in different tips, it allows for more variety in how one uses the paints. And if one doesn't use those, you can stash a pencil, a travel brush, or anything else you need in that compartment. I like this palette, it's a lot of good fun. I'll have the links in the description if you want to check it out. I'll also have scans of the swatches and the demo art over on my Patreon at patreon.com/fbolt. Thank you to Magicfly for sending me this palette to check out, and thank you very much to you for watching. Take care, bye bye.